Welcome to the stream. Returning once again to entertain with my wit and utter humiliation, it's time to watch your favorite Canuck fail. So sit back on your Chesterfield, crack a brewski, and grab your poutine. For today we join together in peace, harmony, and a whole lot of ass-fuckery. Now, it's time to crank up that energy, so bring it on, hype it up, pass it around, and put it in the chat. Let's hype this motherfucker up. Hell yeah!
Begin.
Time to do some Dungeons and Dragons shit. Adjust the volume so that it is good. Ignore me for 1 second. That's too loud. Oh, alrighty. So before we get on doing shit, thank you for the resubscribbles to Shadowhawk. Thank you for the 13 months. Resubscribed Prime, Bad Hair Gaming, both resubscribed to Primes. I will accept the Primes, always. Bad Hair Gaming as well. So Shadowhawk and Bad Hair Gaming, thank you again for the resubscriptions. Also, I think I might have forgotten to thank you, Eureka, last time that she had resubscribed as well. All the subscriptions help me get to where I need to be. Okay. Let's unmute myself on the Discord so that people can hear my pretty voice there too.
There we go.
Oh,
Hey, there he is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna do some map stuff. So first, I'm gonna figure out what kind of map I'm gonna passively make. And then I got some topics we can go through. And if anyone else has any topics, I'm willing to delve into such a thing for sure. So first things first. First things first, let's put this away. Let's get the software up. Let's figure out a map. Figure out a map. I'm gonna do my standard 40 tiles by 30 tiles. It's kind of how I make most of my maps, I think, these days.
Are you looking at making a map for a particular campaign or just for anything for funsies?
I think I'm gonna add it to my Patreon collection.
Okay.
I've got that collection. If you're a Patreon, you get access to a part of my Discord. Other people do not.
Oh,
Except,
right.
of course, for the jackhole mods.
Actually, we can't see half the stuff when you post it down there anyways.
That makes sense. Yeah, I am slowly here. I can even show it on the stream. And there's a whole section in the Patreon stuff for free graphic stuff. I've got like a environment maps one that has, I forget how many maps in it. There's like a lot, almost a dozen, I think, of various like cliffs, plains, some snowy ones, some desert ones, a mixture. Forgotten Towers, Frost Dungeon, Horror House, and then some cyberpunk ones, the Nomad Base and Corner Store. Some of these are ones that I've used in my campaigns.
Nice.
Just adding on to that shit. So I'm thinking I should do some sort of fortified small castle or something of some kind. I'm thinking. That's my thoughts.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, if you haven't done one, I mean, every campaign seems to need one at some point.
Exactly. So it'll be less a castle, more just like a fortified keep. I'm thinking.
You could make a couple styles of it though, like do one that's a little bit like pristine, one that's torn up.
That's a good idea. Do multiple states. I actually did that recently for the adventure that I'm planning on Foundry. And the town itself, there's 3 maps for the town, even though it's the same town, at different stages. Because I'm planning an adventure. I forget what I've called the adventure now. It's still a working title anyways, but I'm making an adventure that people can freely use on Foundry. and it is sort of going to be like the first thing that I ran in my Windermere campaign back in the day. It's a Groundhog, yeah, it's a Groundhog Day style thing. So I've got the town, and I've got like a list of events that happen at certain times of the day and keys you have to figure out and stuff like that. And I think that it's doing something like that, especially since you're contained. No matter how far you travel, you always come back to the same spot. I think it's a great way to do an intro to a campaign.
Oh my God, we tried to escape. I can't even tell you how many times.
You guys got far. You like motored down the river all the way to almost the next town, and then you woke up there the next morning and you're like, fuck!
Yeah, and then there was my poor character who kept trying to fix everything, and I made things worse a couple of times.
Actually here. So ground. Can I add a ground? Okay, good. Okay. I guess I'll keep this ground.
That was my Goliath fighter tosser. He was
second floor.
Yeah, there's a reason that Ked asks me on a regular basis to not strike down Wes's character.
Yeah. Can I move
But it
this?
sounds like so much fun.
Well, in that particular campaign, I think my character killed his character 3 or 4 times.
Not willingly, for the most part.
For the most part. There were a couple of times where his character, though, asked for it and almost got it.
Okay. So if I do this, yeah. Okay, so this will be the ground
level. For the most
level.
part, it was the fighter was under compulsion by various and assorted
I
things.
think the most brutal one was the aboleth.
Yeah, I did kind of stab him through the head with that one.
Okay, so out of the topics I have, and if you guys have any topics, let me know. I'll add it to my list here and we can like chit chat. But I've got a few here that I thought might be good for us to talk about. Not only like would it be interesting for everyone to chime in if anyone's watching, but it's good for our group to sort of iron out some things.
Yep.
I think the first one I have is I've mentioned this before, using the right tools for the right job. And D&D is, as we know, combat, very, very heavy combat based. 99% of the rules are combat. But it's also I think one of the things I've been trying to shoehorn it into that modern D&D doesn't fit very well into is that if you want that gritty, even though it has a gritty mode, if you really want that like gritty fantasy, a little more Game of Thrones style, where it's you're less superheroes and more just like people with swords trying not to die, I don't think it does it well. And I think trying to use D&D for that purpose is a mistake.
I agree. You and I have actually discussed this a number of times in the past. Sometimes not so calmly and collectively. There's been some. Well, for those of you who are new to the channel, Ked and I are almost like an old married couple.
A Waldorf and Statler type relationship.
Waldorf and Statler.
And if you're not old enough to know who the fuck Waldorf and Statler are, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Well, actually, more humorously, if you're old enough to not only know who they are, but know where their names come from, then we definitely feel sorry for them.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
Because some people don't know the origin of their names.
I want to watch the Muppet Show, you son of a bitch.
It's on Disney Plus, man.
I have season 1 of the original Muppets show on I don't think I have a DVD player anymore, but I have it on DVD with like the fuzzy case and everything. It's like the case itself is a Muppet.
Yeah.
But the funny part is I don't think I have anything to play it, because like my computer doesn't have any disc drives. I don't have a DVD player. I don't think I have anything that plays DVDs.
Well, if you wanna, to declutter it, I'll take it off your hands. I have both a DVD player. I still have a player in my tower.
Yeah, the front of my tower is just solid glass. Like there's no
anything, because it's just, you don't need it with a modern computer these days.
No, you really don't. You really don't. But yeah, no, I agree. I think D&D definitely is. It's a combat tool, but it's a combat tool that doesn't lend itself to the players ever really being on the downside of the coin.
Yeah. It's too forgiving in a lot of ways for that type of thing. Poor planning can level a good party on the DM's part or on their part, because we all know that sometimes the simplest of encounters can go awry if the party decides that they're gonna take it on than it was thought of. The players oftentimes make things hard mode themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Been there.
I've been on both sides of the screen for those ones.
But I think it's just like I fixed it a little bit by using like the dropped condition that we've introduced in the campaign and stuff to make it a bit more of the gritty, but I feel like it's definitely not, it's just not there. And it's because really, all things considered, especially like modern D&D, you're superheroes. You're literally just fantasy superheroes. That's what you're playing.
Yep.
So like if we treat D&D as your superheroes, I think it always falls in the line a lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely the as we've discussed, you and I in particular, we've discussed it before and we're discussing it again now, and I think it's good to get it out there. It is definitely D&D, especially modern D&D. You are heroes. You are cut above the average everyone. I mean, if you look at NPC stat blocks, even for like your standard, like we'll say bandit, because every game has a bandit.
Yeah.
You compare a bandit to a rogue, which is a character class, and even if they have the same number of hit dice, the rogue's gonna win. The rogue just has more durability. It's got more tricks. Yeah, the NPCs occasionally get some interesting flexes, I guess you could say, like they get multi-attack, things like that, but that's just action economy. I mean, because usually it's just a handful of NPCs versus a 4 to 6 person standard modern party. And you gotta figure that unless it's a group of rogues fighting a group of bandits, they're not even the same caliber, because you're gonna have in a standard party, you're gonna have probably a fighter, probably a cleric, a magic user of some kind. God forbid you have both a fighter, a barbarian, and a paladin, because then I really feel sorry for a soft AC class like rogue or bandit, because they're gonna get tuned.
Yeah.
I mean, that's looking at like default stat blocks and stuff, though.
But that's what we're talking about, because we're talking about whether the survivability of modern D&D versus realism.
Well,
It's
I would
not
argue
as
that a big part of that is up to the DM, though. I mean, they've made it very easy in 5e for you to create whatever you envision. I mean, just because it's default a fantasy superhero setting doesn't mean that it's not like the old editions where it was a lot harder to adapt things to make them a little bit more to your style or preference of what you're trying to convey.
Well, I'm not even even in relation to the stat blocks, but I look at this. Okay, think a 5th level wizard, which is considered fairly early levels. You can fly, shoot laser beams, throw fireballs, which could single-handedly destroy entire villages of people. Like, how are you not Superman at 5th level?
I've said it before. I've made the characters before. I mean, a proper not even in 5th edition multi-class anymore, but just a proper rogue build, you're Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually used to have in not necessarily 5th edition, but in some of the more recent predecessors to 5th edition, I literally have had what I call Batman build. God forbid when the person who I designed it for actually calls it Batman, because then I just wanted to scream and tear my hair out. But you know, that's. But I do agree with Ebony. 5th edition is a lot more forgiving in its interpretation and ease of alteration based on what you as a DM need. But I think what it really comes down to is group and expectations. Because if your group has, and Ted and I ran into this problem very recently with a game that I was running. The group was kind of expecting one kind of game, and I, as the DM, had set up and was expecting a different kind of game.
Yeah. And
the two mixed like a bad salad dressing.
Yeah, it just didn't turn out well as a result. But I think, I don't know, it's not that D&D can't do it. We are proving, even in the Forge Lands game, you can have a bit of a grittier feel to it. But it's, as I said before, a butter knife can be a screwdriver. It doesn't mean it's as good of a screwdriver as a screwdriver. There's like D&D can do gritty, but I think there's other systems we could use that are a lot better. Especially since if you do a gritty fantasy game, you think the characters are going to be more narrative and story driven, which you can do fine in D&D. But a D&D doesn't have rules to help support the narrative like games like Fate or Cypher does.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my thing is thinking that D&D, yes, it can do it, but should it when you have other tools available?
And again, I think that really boils down to party preference. As a group consensus. I mean, because some groups feel very comfortable using that butter knife as a screwdriver. They are comfortable with the tool at hand. They know it. It's smooth with time, and they know what they want and how to get what they want out of it. And I mean, at that point, a butter knife, it can be a screwdriver, and if you're using it as a screwdriver, it's sometimes just as effective, again, depending on what you're screwing in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to try to if I'm trying to fix my PC, I'm not using a butter knife. It's not going to happen. But if I've got, a big ass straight slotted screw in my wall that needs, to be tightened down or removed entirely, then the butter knife works just fine.
You didn't have to call me out like that.
What?
I have in fact used a butter knife or other not tools to fix my computer.
That's fine. I mean, I use a butter knife as a screwdriver all the time. Once again, in certain tasks, sometimes it's fine.
Yeah.
But there's certain tasks that, yeah, if I was specifically not even just like a computer, like working on a car or something, I might want something more suited to the task. And we can only, like, once again, this is a, you know, we're just trying to make it work as far as explaining this goes. But I think we've got better tools for this type of thing. This is where I think I'm going with this topic myself is we've got other systems. I think people keep forgetting other systems exist, especially when they're newer to the games.
Yep.
They don't realize you've got choices. Like, it's not like you're like, okay, I want to get a car. Only Ford exists, right? No, there's other choices.
Yep. But part of the problem is, and again, it's very much not just from the DM standpoint, but the player standpoint. We saw with Cypher, it's very hard once you've played so much D&D to take the D&D out of somebody and have them adapt to something different, right?
Yeah.
I think even like with the Cypher campaign, everybody was still thinking in the D&D format. So we could have avoided a lot of fights, but it was just easier for us to get into them because that's what we're used to.
I think I really want to run Fate because of that, as a result, because I think if anything, that's going to help people get out of the mindset, because you got to play Fate entirely differently. Like even than Cypher, if you just got to play it entirely differently than you do D&D.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got a handful of newbies that are itching to play a role-playing game.
Yeah, I've been wondering what to do. Maybe I should just start with Fate and not D&D.
Yeah, you could give them the option. Do you guys want to play the traditional fantasy style that you guys have heard of, or do you want to try something just completely different?
I mean, a couple of them seem to have been interested in doing like superheroes.
Yep.
So I might do something with that. Yeah, I've got that blew up more than I thought it was going to. I'm like, oh, maybe there'd be a couple people that wouldn't mind doing like an online game or something. No, there's like a ton of them.
It's surprising the amount of people who are interested and just don't know the proper avenues to go, or don't know anyone who DMs or things like that. I think opening up that opportunity, like people thought, well, you know, I've always wanted to play it, but I've never really known how to get into it. I think you've opened up a really good window for introducing them to something new.
That purplish flat flagstone is going to drive me nuts, man.
Just because it's not quite the right color?
Just because it's not quite the right color.
All right. Let me see what I can do about that then. They're in the middle of redoing some of the things to color match the different things better to certain shades. Because right now they don't have that. That is also, because right now these are like just not the right shades. There's not much you can do about it. They're working on fixing it. 15 months in a row, another subscribble today. Jeez, all the subscribes. Thank you. Yeah, like
Cool.
Maybe I'll go to artificials.
And if you're gonna go a color shade, go a color shade like darker.
Yeah,
My visual preference is that you go darker as opposed to that weird bluish purple.
See if I can get a stone to match here. P. What?
Pretty princess mode? Pretty princess?
Oh, I don't have my thing up. I'm sorry. I didn't charge my tablet, which actually controls that. So give me 1 second. There. I'll do it manually for you. That what you wanted?
I believe they just want to look at your. Oh, your camera has changed focus too.
Yeah, it focuses on them sweet lips now.
It focuses on the lips.
It focuses more on his nose.
Oh yeah, well, I just had to put my camera back on top because it was I had shuffled things around yesterday when I was trying to get a third monitor working, and then it didn't work.
Yeah. Boop the snoot. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It makes him look like a corgi. He's got a boopable snoot. Boop.
I don't like that.
Oh, that's too funny.
Love you, Eberron content. Too funny. What map software is this? This is Dungeon Draft. makes maps, doing maps like this stupidly easy, and I love it.
Man, does it ever. Even I can use Dungeon Draft.
Yeah, and he's certifiably retarded. Wait, what?
It's not untrue. It is not untrue. I will even admit to that currently. It is. Oh man, my brain is doing bad things to me.
I'm just teasing.
For the last 9 months or so to a year, my brain has just been unkind to me.
You know what? Maybe I'll do this.
Ked, you're lucky you're still slightly small time. That's how you end up on Twitter. Nobody wants to see their name as a fucking hashtag.
Cancel Ked.
I haven't been able to make an apology video yet. Can you guys make me blow up enough that I have to make an apology video on YouTube? You know you've made it win.
Hashtag cancel Ked Hub. Let's get it trending.
I would be up for that, because if anything, it would actually get me more.
Yeah, because people be like, "What's this guy all about that people feel the need to cancel him?"
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll get people watching me and be like, "Oh, he's actually kind of cool. Oh my him. This Canadian people's fucked up."
And he literally was saying it to someone who earlier in the stream they literally referred to each other as Waldorf and Statler.
Yeah.
Okay, Boomer.
Listen, you. I can bring you into this voice chat and I can take you right out.
True, actually. Do that.
Yeah.
Just make one and go viral anyways. Big brain time. Yeah. Hey, Big Fi, how's it going? I got people split between the Twitches and the YouTubes today. Although I kind of I think I'm focusing more on the YouTubes these days than the Twitch. Twitch is just, you gotta do something, Twitch. You gotta do something.
There's a Mr. Big Fee.
That's a rant that I don't know if I want to get into. I'm so fed up with Twitch. Like, even the small stuff, like the lately it's been the bans on, like, first it was the hot tub streamers and then they gave them a place for it. Now they banned the hot tub streamers or for doing yoga and ASMR, and it's like, if you're going to ban something, then make it clear why. Like, or just like update your TOS to be clear instead of just being fucking sneaky and transparent. It's
Twitch
stupid.
hates your potato net. That's weird that Twitch would hate your potato net more than YouTube, but I guess it's not weird. But yeah, and it's not just their rules being all over the place, it's that they're unequally enforced. Like, sometimes certain rules will focus on the big time streamers more, and then sometimes small streamers will get in trouble and get banned for something where that large streamers are still doing continuously.
Yep.
Yeah. It is my brain is not even going to try to wrap around what I wanted to say there. Just know that I agree with that.
Just yeah. All right, that'll do for now. That'll do, Pig.
I think it comes down to just, they don't know what, Amazon as a company doesn't know what they're doing with the platform.
They
bought
don't,
it because it was popular.
They did, and it's losing money constantly. It's not in, like, basically in the black the entire time they've owned it. Yeah. And not that Amazon has to worry about losing money, but at the same time, that's what Amazon cares about. Like, I would say 75%, maybe more, of Amazon's revenue comes from one source. And it's not the shopping source that everyone thinks it is. It's actually from the software backend. They're like, what are they called? AWS or something like that? That's where most of the revenue comes from. Twitch does nothing for Amazon. They could just drop it like a bad habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody wants it at this point.
I mean, Microsoft might buy it. They're pretty much buying up anything they can at this point.
I mean, they did fail on their own streaming platform.
Yeah.
Or jams. But
I mean, Mixer failed because Twitch was so Twitch was a giant at that point, and there wasn't much reason to switch over. Like, oh, we got ninja. Who the fuck cares? Who cares about ninja?
Yeah, they needed to do more than they did, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, for first topic, getting back onto our D&D stuff, I guess. Sorry, we got sidetracked, people.
We're like an actual D&D group.
Yeah, like an actual D&D group. Sometimes the walls go funky. Yep, sometimes when you resize things, walls go funky. To go back to the topics at play, I think we're all kind of agree that D&D, I think in the future, unless I know I'm running like a super high fantasy, borderline superhero fantasy game, like that's what I'm using D&D for. If it's not that, then I'm not using D&D for that. I'm gonna use probably Fate or Cypher, because like I think a lot of the times as we think of doing a fantasy game and we think, oh, okay, well, let's play D&D. Well, we should be willing to try a fantasy game in another system, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking work. Okay, 1 second. I was gonna have to do this the different way. Fucking you, no, wrong one. I just want the wall. Okay, I'll edit the wall first. Fine, be that way. There we go. Oops. Whoops, come back. All over the place today. There we go. I'll just redraw.
Ah, that's why.
Redraw the wall. Sometimes when you edit the points in the walls, then the portal tool on the walls go a little funky. I cheered 200 bits and it didn't tell you, and now I'm a sad panda. Oh, it didn't tell me. Okay, I will go back. How many times are you gonna put me into Pretty Princess mode? Jeebus.
Isn't the 200 bits to make it yell in your ears?
No.
No, that's a greater amount than that. Okay, give me 1 moment. She's gonna keep doing this to me, so I'm just gonna fix my thing so that it's connected. Because I had to do an update. That's part of the reason I wasn't. Oh no, my tablet had to charge. So I was using my tablet earlier for my Microsoft Flight Simulator stuff. Come on, tablet. I know you're a shitty tablet, but you can do this. Just clear. Just clear. Thank you.
Old faithful.
I mean, it's cheaper than getting a Stream Deck. Everyone's like, oh, you should get a Stream Deck. I'm like, why? I bought a $60 tablet from Amazon and then spent the $10 on like the better, like the upgraded version of Touch Portal, and voila, I can do entire if structures and stuff in ways that Stream Deck cannot. So okay, does this work? Okay, it works. There you go. Any of the special shit that you do should be okay now. Should be okay. All right. All right, let's get some insides going on. I think on the bottom floor it's gonna have more of this heavy stone for the walls. Oh yeah, I wanted to do portal to the inside part here. Like right about here. No. You know what? We're gonna do this. Fuck this shit. Don't put it in as an object. So let me put in this door here, and then I got another topic for us to go on. Unless you guys got an idea for a topic.
I like what you've been laying down so far. I mean, I don't know much about other game systems, outside of what we've already played, so I don't have much in the way of suggestions of things that can be used. But like I remember back in the day, the big thing that was more customizable was GURPS.
Oh, GURPS. I've played GURPS. It's never exactly been my favorite system, but it's not my least favorite.
And I mean, like,
GURPS is still around. GURPS is just GURPS is a math person's game. There's a lot of point buying and point selling, and then based on what your point buying or selling then turns into points that you can use to do other things with. And GURPS is one of those things you really want the, thank God, modern accompanying software that can direct translate it.
oh wow.
Which sometimes you want that stuff. Like I know with our group, sometimes we want the crunch. Sometimes we want to be able to like point by. I know that's like one of my favorite editions of Shadowrun, 4th edition. It was primarily like build from scratch, point by style stuff.
And honestly, one of my favorite, not particularly crunchy system-wise, but still uses a point-buy system, is the 7th Sea 1st edition. I think they changed a little too much in 2nd edition for most. Like, if you never played 1st edition, oh, Big Fee, yeah, I know.
I miss old Pathfinder. It was, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with that.
I was just gonna say too, like the other format that I'm familiar with is, or the other like game system that I'm familiar with is Pathfinder, and we had fuck tons of fun with that. But it's also it's D&D with more openness. You know what I mean? That's what
it was.
Pathfinder is like Pathfinder is to D&D what legacy open magic content is to modern play.
Yeah.
That is, for Magic players, that is the best comparison I can give you.
Yeah. For me, Pathfinder... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you're a geek and you understood what I just said, you're in the same boat as Waldorf and Statler.
Yeah. For me, the thing that killed Pathfinder for me was the same thing that killed 3rd edition. It was reliance on things like feat chains and whatnot. Basically, if you knew you wanted to do something, you had the plan, level 1 to 20, practically, to do it. If I wanted to be really good with whips, I had to plan at least 7 to 8 levels ahead of time. I couldn't just grow my character organically. And if you tried in Pathfinder to grow your character organically, sometimes it would work. 9 times out of 10, you just kind of got a shitty character that didn't really work. Like, I don't even mean like wasn't very effective. I mean like sometimes like literally just didn't work.
Oh yeah. Yeah, literally you were a dead horse. You basically, you were like, I'm gonna be over here picking my nose because I can't do nothing. Sorry, I engineered myself badly.
Yeah, that's kind of what killed it for me. I love so many things about Pathfinder. I still have a lot of my Pathfinder books, although I think I'm going to be selling a lot of them now. But it was just a matter of it killed it because of that.
Part of why I like Pathfinder 2 is because our DM allowed like any homebrew. You could throw any idea at him and be like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Well, let's be clear about Pathfinder for a moment there. Towards the point that we were really kind of starting to transition out of Pathfinder, the stuff Paizo was putting out was basically homebrew.
Yeah,
it was not tested. It was half-assed. They had to patch it all to hell. Like it got to a point where none of my books were useful because they were all inaccurate. You would buy a Pathfinder book and they would errata the shit out of it within the first few months of it being out, to the point where what was the point of having the book?
That's when they had revised 3rd, revised 4th editions.
Like, you almost feel like you should get your money back at that point. I don't miss feat chains or the bloat, but I miss the classes. I agree there. There was some, like, I loved the way the brawler was set up, the scald, like a lot of the specialty classes. I thought they were great. There was very good flavor with them. It was well set up. There was just a lot of other bullshit in the system that killed it for me. Like, a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff out of the, what was it called? The ultimate, it was like, it was the one that the brawler and the scald and the swashbuckler and all those merged classes came out of. Those were some killer combination.
Yeah, that was a really good book.
Really well. And yeah.
Paizo and GW have the same writers? Yeah.
Not, yeah. Although I will admit that I am a huge fan of the 2nd edition of the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. I think that one was the best by far. It was the idea behind it was very much that whole point by, you start with this, but then with some points you can easily move into this without, you know, hurting your build. And it was, the combat was very, very lethal, and oh, hell yeah, the Witch, yeah, definitely. The Witch was an amazing class, and I agree, I prefer it.
And even they fucked some things up. Scarred Witch Doctor, which when released, I think was cool. Con-based casting, which matched the theme and like all these other cool stuff. And then they're like, no, you know what? We don't like that after all. It's intelligence-based now and really has no flavor. Cool.
Yeah, it lost itself. It lost its soul when they switched it from con-based casting.
They're like, it's be like a side room to it.
Yeah, exactly. But
hybrids, yeah.
Actually, it's funny, now that I think about it, the character I played in Pathfinder, I carried from your Dragonlance game.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. We just converted it all over to Pathfinder, and the DM came up with a reason why he was like hopping universes.
Oh, Dragonlance. Rip orc casters. I know, that's kind of what it was meant for. Literally, that's what it was meant for. Scarred Witch Doctor thing was supposed to be like an orc racial type caster.
it was originally just, that's what it was listed as. You couldn't take it if you weren't an orc or a half orc.
And then all of a sudden they changed it to intelligence, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's an elf caster. Fuck.
Only if they're Kaganasti.
Well, there are no Kaganasti in Pathfinder?
I know.
There we go. There we go. Also, remember traits? Mechanical bonuses or backstory that just weren't RP elements? Yeah.
Oh, remember how many things were called traits?
Oh my god, that was another one of the many problems with Pathfinders. They didn't have like a clear design document to structure things out. So yeah, there were so many things with the name traits that weren't the same thing. And I don't just mean like subcategories of traits. I mean like there were different things called traits. Like what the fuck?
There were, in fact, one of the most confusing ones, there were multiple things called racial traits, which really got people.
Yeah. Let's see.
But one of these days, I'm gonna have to introduce you all to 7th Sea. I think you all will enjoy that particular system.
I think 7C is great. I think it's stupendous. Yeah. Just. Oops.
I mean, it's one of those few RPGs that I own.
Enough.
Pretty much everything that was printed for at least the first edition, and it still stays out. It doesn't get put away. It stays on the shelf, just because it's one of those systems that I have run sessions that were entirely diceless, but still were amazing, full of combat, full of everything, but absolutely no dice were involved. And then there were sessions where the dice were heavy and prevalent, but everyone, even the super like RP heavy players, had a blast, because that's one of the few systems I've seen that can do both equally well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance yet to try out the second edition with a party of players, simply because I just haven't. I have a bunch of the second edition stuff, but I still think if I was gonna introduce a group of players to 7th Sea, many of them for the first time, I think I would definitely run a first edition game still.
Sometimes the older editions are the shit. Once again, I don't remember what edition Shadowrun is at right now, but honestly, like going back to 3rd or 4th edition, nothing wrong with it.
Oh, yeah.
They were good editions. I don't know why they stopped those editions, to be honest. Just money, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it really is. They just want to throw a new coat of gloss on it, and a new coat of paint, and sometimes it's like cars. Sometimes they just throw a new coat of paint or a slightly new body design on it and put it out, and it rips just like the original. And then other times they make it look the same on the outside, but the innards are entirely different, and you go, what happened to my car?
Back into the drifter to kill some flowers. Oh. All right, let's get some shadows going on here. A path tool. Save often. Okay, well that kind of leads to some of the stuff that I was thinking for our next little topic here is, I think Foundry, as awesome as the virtual tabletops are, Foundry or even the other ones, Fantasy Grounds has its elements that I think are kind of neat too. I'm gonna stick with Foundry personally, but and if you just need to quickly roll some dice, yes, even roll 20 is good, is worth it. But I think it's gotten me in some bad habits. I've almost completely stopped running Theater of the Mind combats, and I think we need to get back into stuff like that. Because we like the grids, like D&D is obviously designed around those types of things, but once again, it can be played just fine without needing a grid.
I don't know. I find the visual aspect really appealing. I think Theater of the Mind is nice, but I've been able to. I'm less good with my words than being able to just put something on to the map and having them like saying like whatever you see is what you actually see. This is an actual visual representation of what I'm trying to get across. I think especially for the players I've been playing, the players I've been running games for, it has been a lot easier.
Yeah, and I can see that for a lot of players, but I just find it's not what I wanted to download or get rid of. There's a lot of things with Theater of the Mind, like, and I watched some videos on this recently that I think we do miss out on when we don't do it. Just simple things like just describing going into a room and describing details of the room, and it prompts the players to be more narratively creative with the combat if you mention details about the room. And once again, this is sort of bringing fate into it, because this is how you run fate. Fate has what's called aspects, and everything has an aspects. Your character has aspects, the scene has aspects, maybe the specific rooms have aspects, and these are basically details that you can call upon when you're doing an action. Like maybe the floorboards are weakened, or there's a chandelier in the center that's slightly askew, or things like this. And this prompts players to focus on those aspects when they're doing things, rather than just seeing, okay, I'm 5 feet away. You can more narratively describe it, because sometimes there's certain situations where you say, I want to get in range to fireball these guys, and you don't want to have to worry about the specific maths of it. You can just creatively as a DM say, okay, you get into position, and you can narrate what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like do it all the time, but there's sometimes that I gotta fix this. There's sometimes I think that Theater of the Mind is the better tool for it, and I feel like I just need to use it more personally.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying as well, that there's a lot of people that can't do that or keep track of it in the mind, and I also realize that it's a lot for a lot of GMs as well. Like Theater of the Mind is not easy to run sometimes. Like when you have a battle map and you have things on the map, especially in a virtual tabletop, keeping track of it for you, there's a lot less mental gymnastics you have to go through.
Yep.
Whereas like I've run Theater of the Mind before of like entire battle scenes where there's like dozens of bad guys, and you're kind of mentally keeping track of where everything is. And I realized not everyone's so good at that.
And I personally now that we're discussing this, I personally am actually wondering if part of my flubbery the last 9 months to a year has been the fact that I have not had the mental exercise of Theater of the Mind running. Because without programs like Dungeon Draft and Foundry, my virtual tables would be almost non-existent, or they would be somebody else's rendering that I have shoehorned my ideas into. Whereas at a table, I feel that I equally use both terrain, like set pieces, like miniatures, and Theater of the Mind in conjunction with each other to tell a cohesive story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, not having as much ability to on the fly things, and I very much read the room while we're playing to get where my emphasis needs to be, and playing virtually, a lot of that is lost. I mean, we have even with all our cool, fancy, fun tools, unless we want to go spend like super big money, each of us, to get really high-end audio programs, even speaking more than one person at a time isn't a thing. Whereas at a table, you can have, a couple of people are talking, unobtrusively over here, and they're saying their thing, and then I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm also listening to what's going on over here at the other end of the table where the person's turn who's actively doing something is. And you don't get that in a virtual setting. And so I do think that there are things being lost in for as many things as we're gaining and simplicity that we're gaining. There's also, I think, some of what really brings that ability to run whatever you want and mesh it to your group. I think we're losing some of that because of needing to do virtuals.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's just some things from the tabletop I feel like we've kind of lost a little bit over the past while, and like before the pandemic, I could tell you were burning out a little bit, but it wasn't to the point where like now where we've definitely had some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, since we switched to virtual, yeah, there's a lot of really cool, especially for like people like me that have a little more experience to be like a crafting DM online with the graphics and the audio and all of that. There's been a lot of real cool toys I've gotten, but there's definitely some things about playing in person that I find we've lost that I'm trying to find a way to recapture, because there's a lot of stuff that I used to do as a DM that involved body language to portray what an NPC was doing. Actions or leaning forward or tilting my glasses or things like this, and the thing is you don't really see it, and even if you're watching the camera bit or something like that, it doesn't have the same effect or same preference, same presentation type of thing.
Exactly. And I'm I'm creative, but I'm not creative in the same way you are. I've got that actual like improv actor background, and so I tend to be very much I want to say bigger at the table. I talk a lot with the hands, and I much like you do, I characters, especially NPCs, there've literally been NPCs in the past that as soon as I open my mouth, people know who it is who's talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think with our online play, our virtual play, that we are losing some of that. Hey, Big Fee, if you're back, which I think you are, you would actually be a really good person who's not in the chat with us right now to weigh in on this, because you have played in both tabletop games with us, both as players and as a DM. We've all done that dance with each other in person. And then you've also played, or as your Chipinet lets you, tried to play virtually with us as well. So I think you would be actually a really good person to get another voice from if you're able to.
Yeah.
Not necessarily jump into voice chat, but type.
He was with us in the Dark Souls campaign too, or the Dank Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When he was able to.
When he was able to, yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, his internet hates him something fierce.
For anyone not knowing, he, although lives in the same country as me, apparently he lives in the third world version of it.
Uh-huh.
Well, he does live closer to the American border than you do.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's what caused the issues. Too close.
Yeah. We were just wondering if you wanted to weigh in on. Currently, we're discussing. Oh, nice. Currently, we are discussing what is being lost with lack of us using theater of the mind as much because of the ease of some of the tools. Yes, Starling in September. That will be great.
Yeah.
You will be unstoppable then.
Yeah.
You realize that means that once you get that, we expect you to run something.
Uh-huh.
Just putting it out there.
I would like that. Long-term campaign DM. Let me be player. Three stumps.
I mean, I really was enjoying the hell out of his game that he was running. Unfortunately, it died due to unfortunate circumstances. But I mean, I've never had a character who was cursed by another player and never even realized it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you don't. I figured something like that was up because I was just like, why does my character keep going to sleep every time shit gets weird?
Yeah, didn't I curse you with narcolepsy anytime action happened?
Yes, you did.
So whenever combat happened, there was like a percentage chance you just fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty devious.
I don't even remember why I cursed you.
Because I was getting too close to knowing what Podley's true intentions were.
Ah, that makes sense.
And I was the only actual threat in the party to Podley.
Serial killers don't like it when you start to figure out what they are.
Yeah. Especially those that have sworn themselves to, a dark entity that the party is actually fighting actively.
He was a dark tapestry oracle. He was kind of all over the place with who he promised himself to.
Yeah. That way he was like the Dovahkiin. It's like, yeah, y'all can fight for my soul when I'm done.
Working on response. Tree. Chateaus. No, you can go bigger.
Chateaus.
Bigger.
We're making French castles now?
Bigger.
Oh, there's a game I haven't played in forever. Really fire that up at some point. I haven't played Civ 6 in ages now.
I just got Civ 6.
Oh, did you do the platinum bundle that's on sale right now through Humble?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great deal. For those of you who don't know, Civ 6 Platinum Edition, which is basically everything they've put out for Civ 6 up to this point, as far as I understand it, is on sale through the Humble Monthly for $12.
So Big Fi says, like Ked said, creative aspects of combat tend to fall to the wayside, where mechanical advantages typically overshadow the RP elements. More often, I regard map elements as a video game rather than bring myself into the combat or the scene. I agree. I feel like, although it's really good, especially for certain complicated combats, I find we are missing out on some of the more, like, making combat creative. I feel like we're missing out. Just a little bit. Like, it's not like be all end all, like, oh, it's terrible now. Like, we're having shit tons of fun. Especially like with the dungeon slug stuff and everything like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for anyone tuning in who's not a regular viewer or watching on the VOD later, yeah, our critiques here, our discussions are literally just that. We are an active and fun group. We enjoy playing with each other. We just also like to get together and kind of, sometimes play, I guess you could say, devil's advocate. And we like to get in there and kind of chew the fat a little bit, and it actually helps the creative juices on how we can
I struggled to have attachments to NPCs during interactions in the online game because there's no eye contact, body language, etc. It's the audio version of misinterpreting the tone through text. I agree. There's a lot lost there. This is part of the reason that once the pandemic is over, although I do want to keep doing some of my games online, I also want to have some in-person games as well.
Speaking of which, I was actually thinking that I'm gonna reply to your post a little bit later about this, but I was thinking maybe going to like I'd like a dedicated board game night like once a month.
Okay.
Maybe not on the same night as like the RP night, but on one of our other game nights that we normally have slotted aside as a game night. I would like a board game night. We've got all these giant lovely board games that we never take any time to play.
Yeah, we can figure something out for that. For the odd night for playing like RPGs or whatnot on Thursdays when we do not online, I was thinking I'd like to do something more creative. I wanted to finally do like Tales from the Loop or a Fate game or something like that, because then I can go like full on for like the narrative storyline stuff, because I can go full into the body language and everything like that.
Yep.
I think it would be
for
nice.
the offline RPG, I definitely think we need a different flavor than D&D.
Helps me break it up as well if I'm running two different types of games. On this, let's do some plants. Rocks first.
I have to say it is, I think it is also based on experience as far as between like physical tabletop and virtual. Because I don't find I have the same problem with the players that I have right now for Curse of Strahd, but it's also A, their first campaign they've ever been in, and B, the only thing they've really experienced as far as role playing. So they have found their own ways to get creative and to invest themselves into characters. And I've tried my best to kind of do that in a way that works, which I think it has, because I mean, we like I said, they've done a really good job of turning it upside down and have really creative ways, both in and out of combat, of approaching and describing things.
Yeah, and and that may very well be, and I'm gonna say it, that may very well be the age/generational difference. Because some of us, I mean, I'm not saying that you didn't, because I know, Ebony, that you definitely started playing tabletop. Like I know that you have your origins there. You used to play with
Arcus was my first DM.
Yeah, he played second edition with me back in the day.
Yeah, so I know that you've got that, but I don't think any of your players do.
No.
So for them, this is their ability to be creative, because they're used to video games where they have restrictions, because that's what's programmed into the video game.
Well, and their only exposure, aside from playing the game, has been from things like Critical Role and Dimension 20, who have incredibly amazing DMs that do a good job of having turned, tabletop into.
At the same time, Critical Role and Dimension 20 are playing at the table together. They're not playing online.
Well, they've been doing online campaigns, and like it still translates the same.
Yeah, they have to. That was another one of the topics I wanted to touch on was online etiquette. I think most groups, even our group, especially our group, needs to have a little bit of a chat about some online etiquette stuff.
Oh,
Absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
I do not disagree there.
I was making a video about it, and I just I hadn't finished the video yet because let's see here. I think I still have the script for it here. Go into our next idea, I guess. Where is it? Content creation? Nope. Oh, it's under video stuff. Online etiquette. Here we are. Yeah, so some of the points I had for this, and this will be rehashed in the video once I finally put it up, So I had starting out, don't hog the mic, and I'm gonna hog the mic now to say this. But since only one person can really talk at a time, everyone's kind of annoyed at that one guy that takes 10-minute combat turns in real life, right? So it's the same thing with hogging the mic. So I always say, if you can, and if it's like, you know, it's going to be a back and forth situation and not like right now where I'm just like narrating something, try to keep it to no more than like 2 to 3 sentences. Don't keep going on because someone else might want to speak and they can't because you are. And between these points, feel free to interject if you have any thoughts.
You can't see me, but I'm just nodding. I'm nodding along because I wholeheartedly agree.
I got it. I'm nodding. And then on my second point was, after don't hog the mic, was let the GM hog the mic. Taking turns applies to everyone except the GM. Obviously only in some circumstances. If the players are role-playing amongst each other, planning what they want to do, etc., then the players, yes, they should actually have priority over the GM, and the GM should actually just shut their trap. But a good GM knows when to stay silent and just listen, but also the players should know when to stay silent and just listen. If the GM is doing a narration, doing a recap, like describing the scene, something like this, for the love of all that is holy and unholy, stop fucking interrupting for a second and let the GM do his thing.
Absolutely. It was the harshest rule at my table, but it had to be said. It was, when I'm talking, you're not talking, unless there's like a cue for you guys to have a conversation or something like that, because that's a different story. But the other rule is when, unless it's your turn, don't say anything. Like, it's one thing to help somebody, like if somebody asks for your help along, absolutely answer their questions, help them out, but don't start dictating somebody's turn for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they need to have the chance to be able to learn their character and learn what they're doing, so just shut up.
I think part of that with our group is the fact that, once again, we're coming from a lot of traditional role players that are used to, you can say a little side quip or a little joke as someone else is speaking and it doesn't interrupt anything because you're just saying it to the side, whatever. But of course, online, as you're saying it into the microphone, no one else can speak at the same fucking time.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed it, but Jamie has become a fairly, unless he's specifically dealing with something, has become a fairly quiet character.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying not to step over anybody else.
I don't want to call anybody out, but we have 1 or 2 specific players that I've been having conversations with. Yeah, so allow the GM to talk, because there's been many times over the past like year and a half, basically, that the panini has been going on, that I have been interrupted, and I basically just had to stop what I was doing in the middle of like narrative flow of like setting the scene or doing the recap and be like, all right, what do you want to say? And then how many times those particular players are like, oh no, it was nothing important. Well, what the fuck did you just...
Yep.
Anywho, my next point was show up early. When you show up to a live game, you can sit down, get your dice out, and you're off to the races. But online play, sometimes there's things like tech gremlins or maybe real life things you have to get situated. Despite the fact that you're at home in your pajamas, sometimes it takes longer to set up for an online game than it does when you get there for an in-person game. At least in my opinion.
I agree with that one. Yep. That's why today, even for this discussion period, like you said, hey, my appointment's probably going to be done around 2. That's why about 1:30 I was like, oh, time to get online, because he's either already there or we need to get going.
Unless you're deliberately trying to be an asshole for some reason, Drew. There's no reason why you shouldn't be showing up, like even online 15 minutes early to, get into the mindset and get into discussion and, talk with your fellow players about what you want to do. Like I'm making that call out there because he does it because you were giving away the free, you know, inspiration for when people would show up on time. But it shouldn't have gotten to the extent where you had to do that in the first place, because there shouldn't be a reason why you're not showing up. We do the same thing every fucking week. Every week.
Like, well, with Drew, it's a little more understandable because a lot of times Amina's just getting home at a certain time, and it's tough for him to show up at that time.
But deliberately lately, because he'd even like to pop into the chat like 20 minutes early and then hop out and then hop in at like 7:01.
Yeah.
Like that, but like, sure, cool. At that point, you're doing it consciously. You're still prepared. But if you're showing up last minute or canceling last minute like, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it at all. You do the same thing every single week.
Now, our group hasn't been too bad about the showing up on time, but we've had off and on issues.
Yeah, generally I try to know whether I'm going to make it or not. Occasionally, you know, smoke happens or a migraine happens, but for the most part, I try to, you know, if I'm not feeling it, I know a couple hours beforehand that I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, usually you're pretty good. There's been a few days where it was like a week or two in a row. It's like 10 minutes before I'm like, you son of a bitch. But at the same time, if you collapse, you collapse. And you've set expectations for certain games. You're set in those games as like, I don't want to say half player, but expected that there's a good chance you're not going to show up right now just because you've got shit going on, but you set those expectations.
And honestly, I don't know if I don't think I've actually said this, but I've meant to. As much as I really love the Dungeon Slug idea, and I love the actual play of it, it's just too much for me right now. It's just too much for my brain to wrap around.
That's respectable.
I know it's just D&D with multiple characters and different stuff, but it's just too much. My brain just can't handle it right now.
Hey, you know your limits.
And I mean, like, it's less like for Dungeon Slug, it's less of you know, we like, you be there if you want to be, but it's not like a campaign where it's a continual thing. It's a drop in, drop out thing. It's just don't set the expectation that you're going to be there if you're not going to be. And I think like you're not bad for that.
Well, it's just it. I try not to be. Basically I play Thursdays, and I'm gonna be trying to do things again on Saturdays. So that Friday, I really just have to like take brain time.
And yeah, Big Five, we've never blamed you for your shit. You've always tried to show up on time. And yours is always 100% tech gremlin issues. Like,
yep.
It's never ever with you been because you've flaked. Ever.
Yeah, he literally has a horde of tech gremlins that live between him and us.
Yeah, he just needs to move to a developed nation. So yeah, my next point in the etiquette thing was, I don't think it applies to our group at all, but it might apply to some other groups. Audio over video. Now, we don't even play with video between us, like, except when I'm streaming. That's the only video that usually goes on. But a lot of groups do play with video to see each other's faces and stuff. However, I think a lot of them focus too much on making themselves look nice and then have this, like, shit quality mic. Okay, you don't even need a good mic. Like, you can, I'm saying maybe spend a little bit more than $10 at the dollar store for a crappy mic, which is a thing if you have no other mic. You don't need a professional setup or like really nice mics like some of the streamers like us have, but just something that is audible. Just audio quality is way more. I don't need to see your fucking face. It's nice if we can see that shit, but I don't need to see your face. I do, however, need to hear what you want to do. So audio over video. Now, our group is fairly good with that. Wes had issues for a while, but it wasn't his fault. He had like microphones dying and stuff, and it was taking him a while to get a new one. But I think everyone has a good mic in our group these days, so that's not really an issue. This one. Okay, our group has no issue with this. However, Bad Hair Gaming and myself recently played in a group that did have an issue with this next point. Be aware of your environment. You know, aside from the occasional background bang, crackle, or clang of dishes, our group is pretty good. But yeah, we've played in a nightmare group for that, with like fucking constant banging and roommates going through and echoes from other chats and stuff like this. Okay, your issues are that bad that you are constantly broadcasting bullshit into the microphone. Please switch to push to talk. Because that was bad. There were times I couldn't hear the DM because there was guys in the background like talking to his buddy about sandwich, and then just like hearing random shit happening, and oh, stop.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Like there was a lot of good parts of that game, and I commend him for the stuff that he did do right. But there was a lot of bullshit in that game too. One of those was be aware of your environment. Like for us, I don't think any of us have that issues. The most background issues we ever have is the occasional witch's cackle or dishes from Hawk, and that's about it.
And if I know it's going to be going on for a while, I mute up.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just occasional. It's not even that often. Okay, this one is something I actually have been seeing in our group lately. Honestly, both in Dungeon Slug and in Forge Lands. And it's kind of pissing me off a little bit, but because it's hard to prove, even though it's obvious that it's going on, and that is getting distracted. I don't know how many times in the past couple of months I've had times where I'm like, I'll ask someone something, and then I'll hear a, what was, are there goblins alive? Yeah, there was, what was going on again? It's like, okay, like really? You couldn't focus for these 3 hours that we're playing. And it's not like it's happening once or twice, like it's happening a lot by a lot of people. I'm not gonna call anyone out, but like a good chunk of the players are getting distracted a lot these days. And it's kind of pissing me off. I'm putting hours of work into setting up these games. And if you're not paying attention because you're bored or sleepy or high or whatever, find something to rectify that. Have a coffee. Like, you know, maybe stand up and play. There's been times I've done that. Like if I'm not streaming and I'm running something, there's been times I've been standing up while we're role playing. If you guys have any thoughts on the people getting distracted, or in general about people getting distracted.
Yeah, I mean it's bound to happen. I find I get distracted most when there's long-winded things. Not, and again, not particularly from you, more so from the players. You know, some people love to get really into it, even with their turns in combat, and sometimes I check out. But I'm working on that. I have been working on that, trying to.
No, it could just possibly be partially me, because like I always make sure I'm on the ball. Like when I'm playing, I have Foundry open or whatever we were using at the time, maybe like a side notes for my character or something, and that's it. Like I make sure nothing else is open to that entire time unless we're looking for a rule or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But I find, like, and that's one of the things that's hard for me. I can't confront someone because there's someone, like, it's easy for them to say, oh, I wasn't distracted, I was paying attention, I'm just a little loopy, whatever. But I know for a fact, like, certain times, certain people, yes, you were distracted.
Yep.
You were browsing whatever, and you just don't want to fess up to it. But it's just a simple, I just want everyone to just think about it a little. Like, if you're not up for tonight, then maybe don't show up. Go take a break for a week. That type of thing. My next one was be patient. Oh, sorry, did you have something to say about that last point?
Oh, no, I was just chiming in my agreements I mean, there's only been one time I can think of where the distraction was legitimate, and that was just because the person actually fell asleep. But the rest of the time, it's like, yeah, we're here for a specific reason. Can't you just give for a little bit?
Yeah.
It's not a hard request to be present. If you're gonna be here, be here.
Yeah, exactly. Be here, be relatively soberish, and just be here. Like, it's not that hard to ask for. But some days just feels like it. Yeah, my next one was be patient. I mean, this is a good rule for RPGs in general, but yeah, I mean, online communication screw-ups happen. A lot of the whole like, oh, sorry, you go first. No, you sorry, you go first. Wait, what did you say? Like, that shit happens. Patience is good. That one's kind of just straightforward. I don't know if I have much to say about that one myself, but all right, and then this one's playing right into what Bad Hair's gripes have been lately. Wait your turn, especially in the combat bit. Like, I start out in the video, I'm basically starting saying, if it's not your turn, maybe you shouldn't be speaking. If you have something actually important to say, or you were engaged in the game with the person whose turn it is, then feel free to speak up. Otherwise, if it's not your turn, you shouldn't be the one speaking. A rules clarification is not important. I want to, like, if any of my other players watch this, I want to clarify this. Clarifying rules is not important enough to interrupt the turn. If we're running a rule wrong, cool. Type it out, or message me, or talk to me about it later. But I think for a combat turn, or during a combat turn, just let us play it out. And unless it's something that we all want to kind of stop and double check, just let us play it out, and we'll continue on and have fun. We'll clarify the rule afterwards, and then I can say, okay, from this point on, I'll try to remember to do it this way. X this way.
Yep. And like, it's the hardest thing. I don't want to get into a fight with people, but I also am not happy with, like, every 2 seconds, oh, aren't you going to do this? But what about this? It's like, I'm getting to it. Give me a chance. Or if I miss on it, maybe I didn't want to use this thing, even though I know I have it. I've got the character sheet right in front of my face. I know what I can do. You don't need to tell me, because that's not a rules thing. That's you literally dictating my turn for me. And that happens a lot. Yeah, that's part of the, so even if some of the other players aren't going to watch this stream, that is something in the video. I'm hoping I'm going to, like, have everyone watch the video. Once again, not all of these points apply to our groups, for the most part, pretty good about a lot of these points. But that is something I believe we're kind of lacking for some people. It's just like, and I myself, I'm not saying I haven't done this same shit. There's been times in other campaigns, like, I'm just so used to being the GM that I have had to do what I can to teach myself over the past few months to shut the fuck up. I am not shutting the fuck up enough, to be perfectly honest. And I know that. I'm maybe not as bad as some players, but I also need to shut the fuck up. I am not the GM in those games. Every once in a blue moon, I get to be not the GM. Oh, loud noises in the house. Is there any shadow on the map? Sorry, I didn't even realize you were talking. I was looking elsewhere.
Here's
fucking
the real question.
Shadow Legends.
Here's the real question. Loud noises. Are your ears itching?
Yeah, I just called you out.
Called you out
like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, about the showing up on time, showing up late.
Showing up late on purpose.
Yeah.
That was a friendly call out.
It was it was a friendly call out. We weren't.
I know he does it on purpose.
Oh, I do too, and I love the rise it gets. I'm like, yeah.
Hey, 1 minute late, no free shit. We were talking about the importance of showing up a little bit early as far as being prepared for game time. Usually when you're showing up late, you're still prepared for game time. You have everything up. You're not like having to bring things up last minute because you're just showing up late.
I mean, hell, when we're in person, he shows up, brings snacks, and still gets ready faster than people who have been there longer.
Yeah. No, we're discussing online etiquette as far as D&D goes.
Yeah, just because there's been some stuff in our games that we just kind of feel like we needed to work on. So I've been making lists of things for online etiquette that I think people needed to focus on. No free shit. Frankly, it's something I think we probably should have handled earlier in the whole Panini, but at the same time, I mean, I didn't know how, because we're all new at like devoting our games to being online and stuff like that, and working together as a group when we've been in-person players for so long. I've been playing since '94, and I mean, that definitely wasn't a thing then.
I feel so old.
You are old.
I know.
My issue is trying to RP without talking over someone, the slight lag. Yeah, that's one of the things we were saying. You're not a problem player in that situation, I'm gonna say. There are issues with some players, certain groups, certain interactions or situations where we have people that need to not talk on someone else's turn. It happens.
Not even just for combat, but like if you find yourself interacting with every NPC before you're giving somebody else a chance, maybe you should step back and just like quiet down for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
You find yourself interacting with every NPC even when you're across the map from them?
Yeah.
I forgot to put fucking stairs. Oops.
Stairs.
Well, I can put stairs wherever. I need to put them somewhere. Come to think of it, I'll probably put them right here. I'll just change this up a bit. For example, in the game today, my guy likes to mumble to himself, and I had some great ideas on how that could work. But over Discord, it just doesn't work. The game today? There was a game today? Did you play a game today?
He means Thursdays. He means Thursday's game.
Oh, okay. Current game. Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem is there's certain things you can't do as easily. Like there's certain character concepts that I love to play, you know, the person with the multiple personalities, or like mumbles to themselves, little role-playing things, but you can't do it online. It doesn't work because one person gets to talk at a time. Delete that. That. Portal. Okay, so
yeah, just wait till loud noises and I get back at the table together, sitting next to each other. Shit's gonna get real.
Yeah, it is. There we go. Okay.
Some of the best little character asides and shit have happened between him and I, just doing something, and then something happens and we both just kind of look over and both our characters react at the same time, and then we move on with our lives.
I need...
Or there's times werewolves happen. I mean, that's a thing.
That will always be one of those king moments.
Yeah. Where?
There we go. Let's get some stairs. Copy these. Oh, bugger. You go away.
Werewolves and boat dog horses.
Yeah, that was a good campaign.
That was a great campaign.
Once again, there are so many things I do love about. Oh, I gotta set this into 2 different ways. There's so many things I do love about online, but there's so many things I miss about in person. So yeah, we're gonna switch it up when the panini is over. Now, of course, we're still gonna have online games. One, because I mean, there's a lot of really cool tools I do want to keep using, and 2, you know, some players like Quick, for instance, we will no longer be able to play with if we don't play online.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Quick, if you're watching this at any point, move the hell back.
Yes.
Get back here. Okay, so some of these stairs will go up, and some of these stairs will go down. Ooh, I can do. Oh, come back. This. I should insert that. Yeah, that's what I got. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay. Perfect. We get railing going on.
Stairs?
Nope.
Down.
There we go. Oop. Under. You. This. There we go. I gotta do some shadows to make the stairs differentiate from each other. Also, I should raise these up. Come on. Actually, these stairs down.
Oh, I gotta refresh the stream again. Is this download done yet?
No. What are you downloading?
Near Automata.
Oh, I've been wanting to play that for so long, and I'm like, I don't know. It's never seemed to go on sale for enough, but now that I could just play it from the Game Pass, I'm like, oh.
Mother? Yeah.
Guess I'm gonna do that now.
I love it so much.
There's no shadow there. There we go. Okay, alright. Let's get the extra large. Very large. Probably need to up the width. Wrong way. Maybe just a little bit long. There we go. And then we do a real subtle one here. But less subtle. Oh, subtle. There we go. A little thing that to put that, but that looks like stairs up and down, I think now.
It does.
Yes.
Over 300. Doop, doop.
Yeah, catch you later, Big T.
Yeah, it was great
we missed
chatting. Good shit. Thanks for hanging out. I like the D&D
Good cat,
hangouts.
Big Fi.
Yes.
Yeah, it's these conversations are really constructive, especially like for me as a newer DM. I learn a lot from you guys. So it's nice to decompress and kind of have these conversations and bounce ideas and things like that.
For anyone wondering, he doesn't actually care. He just wants a level.
Oh, please. I know it's never going to happen.
You guys will level in Forge Lands eventually. Hey, and it's completely up to you. You and your fucking Raid Shadow. What is with you in that?
He's already sponsored.
It's already sponsored. Okay.
Are you gonna sell out like that, you son of a bitch?
I mean, if they offered me enough money, maybe I'd do it. I don't have that much pride. I'll accept it. All right. So that gets our second topic done and out of the way. The etiquette of online play and some of the shit that I think we needed to work on, and then some of the shit that our group is actually good at, but other groups I think need to work on.
Yep.
Like certain campaigns we were in not long ago. There was a lot of stuff in that campaign. Like, I don't mean to be particular or elitist or gatekeeping or anything like that, but just some basic shit, like real basic shit that could have been dealt with day one, that over the course of basically 2 adventures was not.
Yeah, and progressively got worse.
And some of it
Instead of better.
Yeah. So in some ways I felt bad because I honestly, like, there were things he needed to improve, but in other ways he was actually trying, and he did actually care about the game. It's not like he didn't care, but there were just some real basic things that would have taken 2 seconds to fix, like for the grid sizing on his map.
Yeah.
Like, I offered to help him. I'm like, hey, do you need help? I will help you. It will take us 2 seconds to fix this issue. I can help you. And he did not. Whatever. So the next issue I had, and once again, everyone it's in the chats, feel free, including in the voice chats. Welcome, Alec, by the way. You've been kind of quiet, but feel free to also put your 2 cents in.
Yeah, I'm here.
Next thing I was thinking of is including certain controversial topics into your games. Now, there's some I won't touch. Rape is not one I will touch. That's just, we have too many people that have had too many real life issues, and especially if you have any women in your party, it's horrifying how. Yeah, I just won't put it in my party. I won't put it in my games. That's just my thing. I mean, if your group's cool with it, all the power to you. You can't have fun wrong, but it's just not my thing. But there's some other topics that, like torture, slavery, and sexuality. I don't know. How do you guys feel about things like that in games sometimes?
I think context is important. I think like slavery happened not just in like terms of any certain color, but like going back like as far as Egyptians, like slavery happened.
Yes. Like even like people don't even think about it. Like, I'm white, but I have had ancestors that were almost guaranteed at one point or another. Some of them were slaves to the Romans, no less.
Yep. I think it depends on how you're portraying it. For like if there's no tyrannical evil dictator doing something, or like if there's no, I guess the better way to say it is it depends on what kind of evil you're trying to portray in your story. Because you don't always have to have the evil dictator and everything like that. But again, like right now I'm running Curse of Strahd. I would say that most of the people working for Strahd are not working for him because they want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like it depends on what. Yeah, it depends on context, what you're trying to put across with that scenario. I don't think it should be something mechanically that you should put in the game. Like, you shouldn't be able to enslave things. But then, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know how to explain.
Because I think of some campaign settings from the past, like Al-Qadim, where if you look in the Al-Qadim book, there's listings for slaves. Now, once again, I mean, this is the 80s. That's an entirely different world at this point. And some of the kits, or like that was basically what the subclasses were back in the day, was like one of the kits was Mumluk, which is literally slave warrior. That's what you were. But it was because that was, I don't want to say historically per se, but that was the theme of the game was that old Arabian Nights thing, which being a slave, and it wasn't romanticized that slavery was good so much as it was a lot of the whole Arabian Nights thing where like it was something to break free of. But that was a thing. I don't know if it's too touchy of a subject for most people, but you're right, context does mean a lot.
Yeah. I agree that there's there's certain things that you shouldn't touch unless there's really good contextual reason for it. I don't think, like I said, I think mechanically it would be a problem. Like you said, like if there's like a slaver class, you know, then you might have an issue there.
AK Pokemon.
And see, again, like what do we clarify as slavery here? Because exactly, like if you're somehow dominating monsters to keep as pets.
That's the thing. That's a very tricky area to go in, because what is slavery? You're considering any sapient and or sentient creature, in which case, I mean, it's rampant even in modern edition D&D. Just because, once again, ugly equals evil, then enslaving monsters isn't considered slavery. But like, where do you go? Where do you stop with that? I guess. Yep. I mean, disclaimer, of course, it is always up to a particular group. If someone says, I'm not comfortable with such and such, then you don't fucking do such and such. That's just, you just don't do it. But I know my group is, I wouldn't say more open to some of the darker concepts, but more willing to, for story purposes, to add that drama or to be the people that fight against it, to have it incorporated into the theme. Like you said, slavery maybe being part of the campaign, but not as something that you're glorifying, of course, but as something that you're fighting against.
Yes.
Light never shines its brightest unless there's darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just about all of those things have a place in the story in a proper context, of course.
Now, sexuality. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also certain things like those darker concepts, I think are okay from a standpoint of if we encounter some NPCs are doing it, but then when it comes to some of those darker topics, it becomes very different if a player character starts doing any of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might question things if my character starts like moonlighting and torturing people behind behind the players' backs. And again, like, I mean, if the character is Jack the Ripper, or like if that's what you're trying to go for, at least be upfront with your DM about that so they can decide what is okay and what's not okay.
I mean, I personally, if a player wants to do that, I don't have a problem with it. Once again, going back to Big Fi's last campaign, I was that guy. I was like, the other players don't even know how many people I killed. Just sometimes I'd come back slightly dirty with a shovel. I at one point basically massacred an entire town, and they didn't know till post-campaign that it was me.
Yep.
But it was subtle, and the DM was working with me on it, and it was all good.
Yep. And again, like that's for storytelling, like I'm sure if you got too descriptive and it made people uncomfortable, you would change the style of play for that character.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's a question of knowing when to like fade to black per se on
Yeah.
certain topics.
Yeah, like sexuality. I will not go into detail. I won't ban it from my games, but I am sure as fuck not going to the detailed descriptions of a sexual encounter. I'll be like, oh, stuff happened. Maybe I'll make a funny quip about it, or there'll be a fun roll to say like how well it went. But that's as far as it's going. Then it's just like, rooster goes and it's the next morning. Like, that's as far as I'm going.
Yep.
Clone level. Okay, so now I've got a cloned. Oh. So I've cloned this ground level now so that I can make like a fucked up version of it. Like I might make one that's like truly decrepit and time worn, so that if you want to like do like basically a past and future map, like they time travel or something, and it's like aged and decrepit and stuff like that. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, that was my thing with the controversial topics. There are some things I won't touch. Obviously, rape is one of them. And that's just because I as a person cannot fathom a situation where it would be anything but uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't imagine where that would like really add anything to the game.
Yeah, I hear so many horror stories. I have thankfully never witnessed it, but I have heard of so many horror stories, and I just can't understand. I cannot fathom it. I just can't. I just can't even. Okay. Get one here. Get some lanterns going on.
I think there's a big difference between being descriptive and like going out of your way to make people uncomfortable. On both sides of the table.
Now, in some situations, I want my players to feel slightly uncomfortable for certain things.
Yep.
But that's more like discussing a grotesque monster or situation in like a horror campaign or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I feel that's more okay. Once again, I can't wrap my head around all those horror stories of people that have just included rape into their campaigns. Not my thing.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, my flurry of game installs are just about done that I had queued up.
The ones you started yesterday?
Yeah, they're just about done.
Jeez.
14 games installed recently. Oh, goddamn telemarketers. No phone. I don't know anybody in Texas. Ain't that up.
That's a lot of games you just installed.
Yeah. Well, I basically went through the list of Game Pass games. It's like, okay, there's a bunch I've been wanting to play. Some of these look decent.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that too. I'm finishing off some ones I've got right now, and I'm going to just free up some room.
Like some of them, it's like, this looks good. This looks good. It's like, been wanting to play this. a couple of them are just kind of like, huh, that one seems okay after looking at it. Like the one that I grabbed that I was talking about with Ebony yesterday, Mistover. It's basically Darkest Dungeon, but it's got like the art style's about the same, but the characters give off a little more like anime-ish kind of a vibe to them.
Oh yeah. But
it's basically like Darkest Dungeon done a little differently. Same like style of combat. Instead of just like the 4 positions, it's actually a 3x3 grid that you can be in the positions, and there's different positional effects and blah blah blah. But it basically plays like a slightly different version of Darkest Dungeon, so I highly recommend that while it's still there.
All right. So before we start getting some furniture and shit in here, let's do lighting just to see how it's gonna, the base lighting, and then we'll work on from there. Environment, blue and dark.
Ideas for your map, aside from like a war-torn version, day and night, obviously, for like just the basics.
Mm-hmm. That's
also
easy enough to do, just lighting.
On fire.
On fire, yeah, that makes sense.
Whether it be siege or apocalyptic, just same scene but on fire.
When in doubt, add fire.
A bit. That's about the right size. Approximately. I need a few more hallway ones.
Toy with ideas for a dungeon slug dungeon myself. I haven't got it like set in stone exactly what I want to do for it, but I've got a couple ideas that I've been messing with. Now, one day soon I should.
I'm happy to hear that.
Dungeon slug.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I got some graph paper I've been just sketching down some little ideas and stuff for, so
probably start working on this week's map. I need to put this game down, but I can't.
Well, who's running Dungeon Slug this week? Do you need me to, or did you want to, or I'm good with whatever.
I think it's gonna be me. Who ran last week? It was you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Kid last week.
Well, then it sounds like it's me.
Because if you're not prepped for it, I don't mind just running one of the emergency ones or a quick map or whatever.
I've got 2 days to make a map. It won't be a problem. I could probably even just revamp an old one if I'm really pressed for time, but I think I should be good. That last one I made in like 5 hours.
Now this is ground floor of a keep, so there will be no windows I have to worry about. And this way, if I want to say, okay, I'll do the daytime map, I just turn off lighting and, ooh, it's daytime. It always looks, once you get some lighting in there, oh, it always looks badass. That's when shit gets real. Quick in the house. Subscribed for 12 months in a row. Thanks. That was my, 4th subscription today. Thanks, people. Guess I did take a bit of a break from the streaming there for a while.
It's been a while.
Well, I had some other stuff come up, and then I was out of it for like, good 3 weeks at least, just because of all the stupid tooth jaw shit. Still hurts, but not as bad. Ugh.
I'm glad that you're back at it, though, man, because, I mean, I missed this.
Yeah. Did you want some biddies as well? Oh, no. You mean for Pretty Princess mode, right? Alright. Now I need to figure out what these rooms should be. I just made rooms, and now I'm gonna figure out what's in the rooms. Probably not the best way to design it, but whatever. It organically evolves.
should finish that Dead Rising map that I started making. The zombie mall.
Okay, they need a good kitchen. Actually, I put a kitchen here, open this wall up, and then make this a dining area. I think that's what's gonna happen. So I think you're gonna open up. Oops. Loud light. Thank you. What is going on with that shit? Lighting went weird there. What the fuck? Okay. Redo that lighting from scratch. Shall we? Good enough. I don't know. Lighting really was supposed to be like that. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's redo that. Do it like that, and then that. It's bright, but doesn't look as bad. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right, let's get some kitchen shit. So yeah, I don't have any other specific topics to talk about today. I don't know if you guys have anything to pipe in, anything you've been wanting to talk about D&D related.
Can you make a tutorial on how to make a better main page? Because yours always looks so wonderful, and even with just basic stuff, I want to make something that looks better, but I don't really know where to start.
Yeah, I could probably do something like that. I mean, it's mostly just graphics work stuff. No, I don't think we're gonna do. I really want to do this as a hearth. How about the topic of Sea of Thieves and how the new DLC is total shit cakes? I mean, it's not RPG related, but it is accurate.
Is it bad?
I've heard bad things about it.
It's all Pirates of the Caribbean based.
Yeah, my roommate said it was okay.
Fireplaces.
I mean, I can't blame them for wanting to try and milk that IP in a Pirates game, but I also don't know how well they did it or how badly they did it. I haven't checked it out yet, so.
Sea of Thieves has become Fortnite.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is their Jack Sparrow side story a 32-person battle royale? That is not what they advertised.
Yeah, I think Quick means more that they're just, selling out from their original thought and purpose.
They make money out of it. I mean, I guess I can't entirely blame them for it.
That's what they're there for.
All right, that's a good size hearth. Put some other stuff in here. What am I doing? This.
All right. Well, I'm gonna head off, gentlemen. It is snack time for me, and I don't really want to munch on the microphone.
Snack time. Okay, have a good snack.
Enjoy.
Have good snacks.
Help me up.
I'll do this one, I think. This. We're gonna do some burning wood. Maybe smaller bits of burning wood. Yes. Okay. Over which we can do a thingy for a pot. They did add large crab people that swarm onto your ship. Oh, really? That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it's neat.
And you needed more things that attacked you. Like the skeletons were neat, but they didn't. You could just sit on your ship, and as we've proved, just shoot them from the ship, and then you're fine. Whatever. You needed more things that affected you while on the ship. I need. Is it under kitchenware? Where are the pots? Yes.
So speaking of online games, you've got a lot of interest in that Friendo group. Do you have anything planned so far as to what you might want to do with them?
I'm not too sure, because there's a lot of them.
There is a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, and they have professed some different ideas. Like some of them were kind of interested in the whole like maybe superhero thing, and like maybe not doing the standard D&D stuff. So
I had an idea.
What?
Because I'm assuming you want to do something with them where you're streaming, because I'm assuming they'll want to have like the restream. All of them are streamers.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing it while streaming for sure. 100%.
What if we collaborate? You take 5 and I take 5. And we could do anything, but if they're into like possibility of superheroes, what if we do heroes versus villains?
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, because it was too many. I was going to have to split the group.
Yeah, they will all want to play together, but we could do something where we can kind of have them cultivate their teams through a storyline, and then maybe have like a head-to-head at some point.
Okay, all right.
I was inspired by the Critical Role. They did Vox Machina versus whatever the other one's name was.
The Mighty Nine.
Mighty Nine.
Mighty Nine, yeah. They did like a team versus team. And it was interesting. It was really interesting.
Now, if I did superheroes, one of the things is I wanted to, if I run superheroes, it was going to be using Fate. Because honestly, I think that's one of the better systems to do it with.
Fate or Cypher.
Fate or Cypher. I'm thinking I would like to try it in Fate.
I am always willing to try something new and learn new things.
And Fate, if you want to read up on it, it's a free RPG. It's like an open source RPG. You can just go to their website, Evil Hat Games, and just download it.
I'm gonna do that right now.
And the specific Fate I was going to use for it is called Venture City, which is also all of the rules for it are in the SRD. Because like that's one of the things they specify if you're using the rules for Fate. It's like you can sell books for Fate, but you have to provide basically a free copy of the base rules somewhere.
Okay. All these PDFs cost money. I don't quite know what I'm looking for here.
The core game should be free. As for Venture City, you just look this. Once you know how the core game works, you just go to the SRD and just look up how the powers and stuff work. Quick just posted it in chat as well. evilhat.com/home/fate toolkits. I guess that's probably it.
Just head on over to the chat. Thank you, quick. Because yeah, man, if you want to run it in Fate, then I will learn Fate. I think it's especially with such a large group, like they want to interact in some way. We can work it out. I will follow your lead on it.
Before we do that, what I think I really want to do is I want to run a Fate game for you. Because here's the thing about Fate. It runs dramatically differently than D&D does. Because the play, and this is on the player side as well, because the players, you have to think of the players as being partially the GMs. Fate just works very differently in a lot of ways. The GM has an easier time and more creative control at the same time. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
I've actually got a video on my old channel that I keep meaning to redo. 1 second. Here, let me actually go to my old channel. Here we are. I had ones. Yeah, I had 2 videos on Fate. One specifically was about changing your mindset. How long is this? 7 minutes? You know what? Let me pause my Spotify. I can play this on my stream, considering it's my own fucking video. So for anyone watching that's interested in Fate, these are actually, how good are these? How shitty are these? I don't remember. I made these years ago. Oh, my old intro. A really old intro. Oh, okay. Apparently these are only up to 720p. Eeh. Experienced roleplayers are used to a certain type of RPG. As a result, a certain mindset on how to roleplay
so I can watch you on stream.
I know it certainly did for me. This is why when you try out a narrative style RPG like Fate, for the first few times those same people often struggle a little to grasp how to fully utilize the system's potential. So let's discuss a few quick points that I'd like you to think about if you already have this mindset. Firstly, who is your character? In traditional RPGs, it's not unusual to explain your character by what they are. I'm an elf wizard, an experimental cyborg, or a super speedster. But Fate makes you really explain who your character is, rather than what. The way the normal character creation works with the cooperative story, how the aspects of your character can represent parts of your personality, or factors of how your life affects you. Something to think about when making a new character in Fate. Next, what over how. If I'm playing Pathfinder, and I'm in an encounter, it's not odd to hear a player state what he does. Something like this. I take a move action to move 30 feet up, a swift action to activate my healing, and then a standard action to attempt an attack using power attack. Here are my roles. It's very precise, very mechanical, and sometimes that's fantastic, especially for those of us with backgrounds in math or technical skills. We geeky people enjoy that type of thing. But the best way to handle this in Fate is actually quite different, but no less fun. I know I've certainly become to quite enjoy it. Instead of just stating your intended action, it's best for the GM to ask the player what they really want to do, what the outcome they're truly looking for. Part of the reason for this is there's often more than one way to tackle the problem within the rules. No pop filter. If the player says he wants to heft his sword and slice at the bandit, that's great. What does he hope to achieve with this? Does he want the bandit to favor a wound on that arm, thus making it harder for the bandit to use it? Does he want to do so to force the bandit into a defensive position and making it so the bandit has a harder time attacking others? Is he hoping to hit an artery and cause a bunch of blood loss, causing the bandit to become woozy over time? Does he just want to try and hurt the bandit enough that maybe he can try to take the bandit out of the fight completely? There are various ways you can do this action. So what you really need to think about isn't the how, but the what and the why. Why are you doing it, and what do you hope to achieve? So I'm going to pause there for a second, because I think that's a very key point of how you need to change your mindset from D&D. Because in D&D, you've got set abilities and you're working within generally the realms of those abilities. Now, it's an RPG. Obviously, there's certain levels of creativity that you can expand on, that the GM can allow, and things like this. But in Fate, as I just explained, it doesn't work like that. You need to explain to me what your intention is. Why are you trying to hit a person? As it says here, like, are you trying to, gimp their leg, cause blood loss? Like you need to be creative and specific on why your action. There's actually a set of 3 rules: the gold and the silver and the bronze rules. And I think it's the golden rule, which is explain what you want to do and worry about the rules later. Like, basically the GM's the only one that has to worry about it. You've got what's on your character sheet and you explain what you want to do. The GM will tell you if there's a role needed or what the role is. It's very different than D&D in that manner. In D&D, if you say, I'm going to attack somebody, that means a specific thing. You're probably going to roll an attack and then roll damage. But in Fate, if you're going to attack somebody, that's just step 1. I need to know why. I need to know what your intended outcome is. I need to know if it's for a specific reason, or to help somebody else, or to cause an aspect in the scene, or there's a lot more to it that is different than just, I'm going to attack somebody.
And it's very, and it could be very different about what actually constitutes an attack. Because I remember one of our short sessions we did, you ran that really short, like, Lord of the Rings one the one time. And I was a halfling guy in the last boss fight that we had against this, like, ancient, like, undead elf guy. I basically spent the entire fight just insulting him and his lineage to do like mental attacks against him.
And that's the thing is the attacks, because there's no health or hit points in Fate. There is no health system. There is what's called stress, which is how much influence you have left on the scene. If your stress boxes go away, it's not that you're dead. It's that you no longer have the ability to influence the scene. You are affecting his mental stress, which means that you are driving him to such distraction and rage and everything that if you were to bottom out his boxes and he could no longer take mental stress, basically that means that he can no longer be effective in the scene, which is such a dramatic and different approach than D&D. And Quick loves Fate as well. It's such a unique system. It's definitely one of my all-time favorites.
Fate has no damage system.
And there's the thing about no damage system.
No actual damage system. No, seriously. There are no health boxes or hit points. The stress boxes represent anything from how much luck to how much stamina a person has left in the fight. It doesn't actually represent getting hurt. Just what you're not even taken out. This is why your stress boxes refresh after a scene. It doesn't represent how hurt you are. Maybe you have a specific injury represented by a consequence like a hurt shoulder or broken leg, but there's no real system for tracking damage in Fate. It's okay to fail. In a traditional RPG, if you fail, there's a good chance you're dead, or something major happened. That's not always the case in Fate. Fate has the same style as a movie or TV show. Failure in those mediums rarely take the main characters out. Instead, it just affects the plot and moves it in a new branching direction. Failure shouldn't always be the end, only a branch of the plot. Players also have the option to concede. It even has the bonus of automatically giving you a fate point if you do. Sometimes conceding to a conflict is the better option if you're to be taken out. It's another thing, if you have no stress boxes or consequences left and you are taking it out in a conflict, that doesn't necessarily mean you're dead. You could be knocked out, too exhausted to move, too afraid to continue, maybe restrained or tied up. Whoever or whatever takes you out has the choice of what happens.
That's one of the major things I like, that it's a difference with Fate as well. In D&D, and this is partly the way you run it. Obviously, you can run it different ways, but in D&D, majority of the time, if you fail, it's bad. But in Fate, if you fail, that just could mean you've created a new interesting arc in the story, and you can actually get rewarded sometimes for failing or conceding in a challenge. which is different for sure. We've definitely had issues, or had times with you guys in the past conceding, and it worked out quite well.
Next, Fate is not a reality simulator. This system is not a reality simulator. You don't have to constantly think, well, how would this work in real life? It's not real life. It's a story, and the Fate story is all about larger than life, epic, and awesome stuff. So when it comes to Fate, what matters first is the narrative. As long as it still fits in the limits and boundaries of the universe your group has agreed upon, it's more important to progress the story than to think of some mechanical means to simulate how it will work in reality. Don't react, act. Fate is a narrative-driven RPG with a focus on story. Players have a much bigger influence on the game than most other RPG systems that push on them. It's not up to the GM to supply 95% of the story and hope you just discover it as you go. The aspects of the game and your characters help springboard you into the plot the GM has set up, but it is up to the players to be proactive and actually expand upon that plot. Remember, everyone has a little creative control in the Fate RPG. An example of this is the secret door. In most RPGs, you enter a room and say something like, well, we're stuck at this vault door, I'll make a perception check to look to see if there are any secret doors. If the GM planned that there are secret doors in this detailed map layout, then there you go, you may find
Before I edited my video
in
as well.
Fate, you work more in the theater of the mind. It's less likely you'll have the same area mapped out, and more likely you'll just treat it as an abstract zone the players have to get through. So a Fate player is more likely to say, I see there's a vault door in front of us. It looks hard to open. But as an archaeologist that studied tombs like this, I bet I remembered reading about secret doors the workers used to bypass the security when working on the tomb. The player spends a Fate point if it's called for, maybe makes a lore or notice check, and voila, a door is found.
For anyone that watched our Cypher game, you notice I kind of stole this from Fate and put it into Cypher. And honestly, I think it belongs in a lot of RPGs. The ability to give the players some agency to determine narrative characteristics of a scene by, I mean, in a limited capacity, of course, but the ability to add onto it in your own way. I really like players being able to do that. I realize that's not for all GMs. Some GMs don't feel comfortable being able to do that because it does take a little bit of ability to adapt to your players when you're doing it, but I think it's worth it if you can pull it off. 100%.
The GM didn't even have to plan for it. Focus on the important. In Lord of the Rings, when you get to the point where the Fellowship of the Ring enters the mines of Moria, you don't spend hours watching as they unfold the exact map of the various winding tunnels and long periods of travel. Instead, it's narrowed down to specific scenes and locales: a fork in the path, an old tomb, being chased across
I covered this type of stuff in D&D with my hex crawl stuff.
The same way. Unlike most RPGs, where you travel square by square, unlocking the map as you go, and deal with this on an action-by-action basis, Fate focuses more on the important story bits. Entire scenes can be solved in a set this now that they can effortlessly dispatch those zombies as long as another factor doesn't come into play. So the group could easily just make a single roll with spend a lot more time on it.
The next point.
And lastly, use what you got. Physical combat or action is inevitable in most games. Although not necessary, most groups like a little action to go with the drama. But that doesn't mean you always go up and smack things in the head. Not all characters are combat focused. If your accountant character tried to go up and take out the seasoned soldier with a punch to the face, well, your accountant's gonna have a bad day. But the accountant is smart, maybe creative. Use what the character has to help better the others in your party, and maybe a little better at what you're focused on. Create advantages by distracting the soldier. Try to drive the soldier into such a rage he becomes reckless. Maybe modify the environment by tipping the nearby bookcase over on top of him. This isn't like most RPGs. Not everyone is built to be a combat powerhouse. Characters can be varied and different, just as like real life people. Use that. Be creative. So hopefully this expands your mindset a bit. I might have more videos on similar things in the future. Have a good one, eh?
Yeah, so it was one of my old videos about Fate. And there's a lot of things we've loved about it as a group. And part of it is that it is very different. In D&D, no matter what class you pick, it's going to have some combat abilities. Because it's just part of D&D. But in Fate, you can make a character that is 100% entirely non-combative and still be useful in basically every situation if you're creative enough. Which is, I think, pretty cool.
Absolutely, and it definitely fits for a superhero campaign.
Yeah, and I like the way the powers and stuff work with Venture City. I think they did a pretty good job. But like, this is loud. Turn down Spotify. And for anyone watching for map making, I'm sorry I got sidetracked. Deal with it. In Fate, yeah, there's the main rules that really, if you're a player in Fate, these are the only 3 rules you need to know. You don't need to know anything else in Fate. The GM, as long as the GM has a good handle on how the rules work, you really only need to know these. And really, actually, you only need to know the first 2. Hell, you really only need to know the first one. The golden rule, or the main rule, is decide what you're trying to accomplish first, and then consult the rules to help you to do it. And by consult the rules, I mean probably ask the GM. Basically, in your words, what are you trying to do? Don't say it as a mechanical action. Explain as if you were writing it into a book. What are you trying to do? What are you not only what are you trying to do, but what is the intent or purpose of your action attempting to achieve? The silver rule, which kind of builds off the golden rule, is never let the rules get in the way of what makes narrative sense. The system specifically goes out of its way to tell you, fuck the rules if it makes more narrative sense. Like, don't worry about the rules, come secondary after the narration, because it is a more narrative heavy style of game than some of the other ones. And then they don't have the bronze rule here, but the bronze rule is basically anything can be a character. A person, a device, a scene, anything can be a character in Fate. I've run versus my players before, where they were basically in a combat, but the character they were fighting was actually the scene. It was the environment. So you can basically make a stat block for the environment. Like if they're, say, in a crashing plane, the stat block is the crashing plane that they're fighting against.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really interesting way to run it. But yeah, it's a good system. Put another video in there. I'm not going to bother watching it right now, but I think I should do, not this week, of course, maybe next week. I think we might take a 1-week hiatus from Forge Lands. This week we'll get back into Forge Lands again. We'll like continue it on because we're in a good spot for it right now. But maybe next week, I think I'm gonna do like a little one-shot for you guys. Not necessarily Venture City, maybe something else, something a little more streamlined, or something you've done before, like Secrets of Cats. Just for those that haven't played Fate before, just to get a kind of grasp or concept of it.
Yes.
Because honestly, I think Fate is my favorite RPG system. As much as I have been devoted to Dungeons and Dragons since the mid-90s. And there's a lot of other systems I love for various other reasons. I think Fate is my favorite. Like, hands down. I think Fate is my favorite. It's just got so much for it, and it's a great universal system that you can use for literally anything and somehow still balance it. It is made that you can have any number of players and it will still balance fine. Literally any number of players. It doesn't matter. 1 to 30, whatever. It would get kind of crazy at 30 because you have a lot of people yelling at you, but it doesn't unbalance by the wrong number of players. Everything scales quite well for that situation. Like everything just balances out quite nicely. It's a very good system. I can never say enough how much I love that system.
Yeah, I'm excited to play and learn.
Yeah, it's definitely good shit. We've had some crazy times with it before. We've had some really good shit happen. And like I've got lots of situations where players are creative. Once again, Malik is one of the ones that is my go-to with the fire truck thing. how it's like they were fighting a demon on the fire truck. I had one player literally fighting him with a chainsaw while hanging off of the edge and stuff like this. And Malik here was the driver of the fire truck, and he wasn't sure how to help because he was driving. And so he spent a fate point to do and declare a story detail, a narrative detail, and realize, hey, this fire truck is not only one of those ladder trucks, but it's one I can control from the inside. So he was able to actually, like, after he declared that, and now it's suddenly a thing, he was able to control it to like help like knock the demon off balance, creating an advantage so that someone could take use of it to make their attacks more useful.
Wow.
All on the fly, all super creative. And all supported by the rules.
Yeah, it's kind of neat and interesting, some of the things that you could kind of flavor on the go in Fate. If you've got a creative party, it can get kind of crazy at times.
Now, at the same time, I realize it's not for everybody. Some people just want to know specifically, what can I do? Show me the rules. Good. And then they just kind of want to like coast through it. And that's their version of fun, which there's nothing wrong with that. Fate is not their type of game.
Yeah.
If you're that type of person.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I liked Cypher, is because it was like that nice happy medium between those two kind of play styles.
Use another knife. Yay, another knife. Yay. There's a lot of tips and knives. Okay, cool. A bit more on the edge. Bah. How about this edge? Yeah. Oh, I was on kitchen accessories, not kitchenware. Sideways cups. Yeah, I'll figure out, like, I'll probably make pre-mades and we'll do like a quick one shot of Fate.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm very interested.
I think a Fate-based superhero game could be really cool, especially with that idea of like splitting like our oversized, party into two parties and doing like the heroes versus villains thing. I kind of like that. Having one group play the heroes, one play the villains, and then maybe eventually have a head-to-head.
I'm not sure what day we would run it. I mean, Ebony and I wouldn't even have to play it on the same days per se, but we had like a lot of people like from that Discord be like, I would like to try something. Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was, and still more people are piping up, I think.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, I'm looking for more D&D things to stream.
Like, Venture City has a pretty good thing for their powers, because you take like your main power category. So say like I had like flight as my primary power. Now that you don't just get flight, there's enhancements you can purchase off of it, power synergies. This thing's called draw. Everyone has to have a drawback, which is interesting. Like every power comes with a weakness. They get something called the collateral damage effect. Every power is a collateral damage effect, which I love, which basically you can go like fucking super crazy with your power for a second, but it really does some bad things to the area around you. Which I think is pretty cool. But then you can also synergize it by choosing a secondary power. Like example is one of the ones they suggest is super speed along with it. which kind of makes sense, flight and super speed. And then there's, on top of that, on top of the powers, there's also themes you can add that give you more options, which is really cool. So there's like, despite being Fate, there's a lot of options. And then on top of this, you got the things of your, all of the things that you can choose, your aspects and your stunts. That's the other thing I think some people have problems with. There are lists out there you can go to, but it's every time you make a character in Fate, it's almost like you're creating your character class from scratch. Because you're inventing what your aspects and your stunts are. There are guidelines that you stick within for the stunts, but you're creating them from scratch. So it's like every time you imagine in D&D, if every time you played a character, you decided that you were going to, from scratch, just kind of decide what your class did. It's not for everybody. You kind of have to be a little creative with that. But you can be super creative with it. Like I remember in the Secrets of Cats game, one of the stunts that I gave one of the cats was the ability to spend a fate point, and no matter where he was previously, if he's not in the current scene that's being played, he could just appear out of nowhere and be in the current scene that's being played. He'd just like drop in from the shadows and he'd be like, I've showed up in time.
That's handy.
Stuff like that. Or the one cat had the ability to move objects much larger than he normally could have moved objects because he was just like super swole. Stuff like that. Okay. So we'll turn this into like a mess hall, I'd say. Needs to get some veggies and shit. Is there like food? Food. We are.
Need that FUD.
Some sausages. Steak going? No. Salad. All right.
Actually, AFK just for a moment. I need to get myself a little snack, little bite to eat.
Me talking about food did it.
Yeah, be back in just a couple minutes.
All good. That'll do. All right. And a wheel of cheese. In case you need the shit in the fridge. Well, just a couple pieces of cheese. Huh? All the cheese. And piece of a bread.
Cheese and bread? What are these people, rich?
I mean, they're in a giant stone keep, so yeah. Yeah, they are. You don't build one of these because you're poor.
That's true.
Unless he's one of them south side barons. Let's see here. All right. Snap. Grid. Like one. Do them in between. That. Works out pretty good. Hey. Didn't mean to put them that high up. Let's do more like 300. There we go. All right, let's do some chairs. Chairs. Probably without the handles on the side. Something like this. That to 200.
Dungeon draft? Why you do that?
What dungeon draft do?
I went to open a map and it crashed.
Oh. I've gotten pretty lucky with dungeon draft. It hasn't borked on me that often.
Alright, let's try this again.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Got your
Nothing
snack.
fancy. Yeah, nothing fancy. I just actually grabbed a bowl of cereal.
I made a rather tasty lo mein earlier. That was turned out perfect. I used the right amount of oyster sauce in the sauce this time.
There you go.
Previous time it was a little too much.
Yeah, it's very easy to use too much of that.
Making tacos tonight? Oh, nice. I don't know what I'm making for dinner tonight. I gotta start thinking of that soon.
I'm making green chicken curry.
Fuck. Where are the runners again? Search. There they are. I don't know. Oh, it's under altars maybe. And that's why. Over. Okay. Let's do, is there, they all white? Is there dingy? Oh, none of them are colorable, are they? Nope.
Oh.
Hey, don't like that. Well, maybe a green. Green with border? Green with border. Yeah. Do that shit. Yeah. Alright. Oh man, I want tacos now. I don't think I have any taco seasoning. I've got the beef, I think. I don't have taco seasoning.
I kind of made my own blend the other night because I didn't have taco seasoning. And just added a lot of garlic.
I do have like chili powder and cumin and stuff like that. They could just make taco seasoning, I guess. Yeah.
It sounds like you're making tacos.
Sounds like I'm making tacos. We'll see. See what we're up for. You know, I'll do all the shadows and this shit afterwards. Okay, so that gets like our eating area out of the way. I'm gonna do the jacks, I think, in the basement.
Oh, I gotta wait for Dungeon Draft to finish loading before I can bring Twitch back up. It's having a shit.
Taking a shit. Yeah, I think the jacks, I'll either you put them in the basement or you put them on the second floor. You never put them on the base floor. You put them on the second floor if you don't mind the shit literally spilling outside of the walls. Or you put them in the basement if there's a natural something for it to fall into. So that I'll put in the basement. Oh, I guess an armory, some barracks, stuff like that. I got a couple of storage going on. Let's say make these two rooms. We're gonna do like bunk beds, like barracks. Beds. Now, I have made bunk beds before. Just could have made it so they were stacked so they looked shit, or they looked good. Oh, you're way too big. Okay. Grid and snap. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take snap off. Okay. So bunk beds. So I think we'll do it like, yeah, and then we'll do it like this. And it'll be kind of the same thing like this. So we'll do one corner here. Use a dramatically different one. Here. And I can put like ladders on them and then it'll kind of look like bunk beds.
There you go.
I hope at least. Oh, that one's colored differently. Can't do that. Gotta segregate the colors. Make them differently.
Hashtag cancel KetHub.
All right, Lantern, you are... Okay, light out of the way, please. Lantern, you need to go higher. All right, Light, you may go back. There we go.
Okay. I'm going to restart my computer because it's doing some weird shit.
Okay.
And I will be right back.
Bunk beds. Yeah, I'll put pillars in the corners, I think, and then I'll put ladders. So let's get some pillars. Pillars. Some wooden ones. Maybe round posts, eh? Not perfect, but it kind of worked. Whatever. Some ladders. Won't know. They won't know how they know. Big. Here we go. Or should I? This one? Oh, that one's better. There. There. There we go. There we go. Let's get some trunks going on. Some chests. Personal storage trunks. 100? Yeah. 200. There. I feel like we need like a big trunk there or something. Sweet. I'm actually gonna move this lantern because it's like right over that dude's pillow. That's just asking for troubles. There we go. I like that. I'll add some dirt stains and stuff to the floors to break them up afterwards as well. This will take me longer to do than I thought it would. I get too detail oriented on this shit.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away when it comes to stuff like this.
I'm just gonna keep these ones on the bottom. I like this one on the bottom, but we'll switch it up with the top one. There we go. Go back to pillars. Come on.
There we go. Now I can see your map again.
Yeah.
And it's looking good. I love when you make the bunk beds.
They work out. Looks pretty good. Probably could have did the sheets another color. Oh well, I've come too far. I mean, I can change it post, but I'm also lazy. It's about the same size, right? Yeah.
Okay.
there.
Let's try to open this map again.
Good luck. Only time I've ever had a crash on opening a map was because it was after I had updated the Forgotten Adventure stuff.
Yeah.
And then I tried to open a map that had used the old Forgotten Adventures formatting. Oh, which sucks because they're in the middle of discussing changing their formatting again.
Oh God. I find that as long as you like load the assets once, like I've added all the assets or added extra assets, and like the first time on load it'll crash, and then after that it loads fine, but it needs to like go through that initial process of trying to load the assets once.
Oh yeah.
AF.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a little fucked up there. The lighting. But I can fix that by covering it. Doors. Door frames. Oh, it's under. Is it just doors? Where are you, stone archways? There you are. There you be. Nope, still kind of weird lighting, but it's fine. It's kind of covers it.
I kind of like the structure of my Seven Sins map, like how I set it up within the size. So I think I'm going to use it as a template and just make a new map.
Why? What
setup within it?
What kind of size was it?
It is. I want to say this is 40 by 40. How do I check once the map is already open?
Nope. Oh, yeah, show map info. Go to the
Show
menu.
Map info. It's 30 by 30.
Yeah, I usually do mine. I mean, mine I usually do 40 by 30. Anywhere around there is fine. Is usually pretty sweet.
Yeah, but like I don't know if you probably don't remember the Seven Sins map. That was a couple of weeks ago.
I'm trying to place it what it is. I don't remember.
It was the one that it had like 7 different rooms, and you had to grab a gem in each room based on different puzzle stuff.
Yeah, that one.
Flesh wall.
Yeah, so like with the chambers and like the center chamber and everything like that, I like the setup that I had for it. Yeah, the wall of flesh. And instead of like a Seven Sins challenge, it'll just be a different kind of setup.
I don't want gold cups. No. Where's the wooden mugs? I know you exist. Drinking horns. Here we go. Here we are, wooden mugs. Just gotta find the right ones. Bear. Oh, here we go, empty ones. That's the shit.
I like the colorable ones too.
Yeah, I'm gonna plop down, once I do a couple of empty ones, I'm gonna plop down like some of the colorable ones as well. Put some shit in it. Are you colorable? Yes, you are. Let's do a couple with this color. Then a couple that's more of a reddish, as if it's, let's say really red. Or red. Or red. That fucking cranberry juice, that's what this is. It's good. Gotta work on that cranberry juice. This guy's got 2. He's in his cups. Say the chef's got 1 too. And what the hell? Let's throw a random empty cup in like one of the rooms here. They were bad. They brought a cup back to their room. No dishes in your rooms. So that's not bad. That's what, 8 soldiers or 8 people per room there. So that's like 16 people just in these 2 rooms. Maybe we'll do like one more barracks room kind of like that. Maybe here. And then we'll have like, maybe upstairs will be like the officers' rooms and stuff. This will be something big here. I don't know. Either way, I think I need to think about dinner. So I think it is time to end today. 3 hours. Not my longest stream, but not my shortest either. But I think that is enough for me today, as I need to think about dinner. And I did start like 2 hours later than I normally would have today, because I had an appointment. Next week's going to be the same thing on my Wednesday stream. I am going to be starting at probably around the same time. It's going to be 2 because I have an appointment at 1, unfortunately. Hopefully from that point on I can start closer to like noon, like I'd like to. For anyone watching, like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is, depending on which platform you're on. As always, don't forget to do that. And come back Thursday for another episode of Forge Lands, our Wild West D&D campaign. And then Friday, I do believe Bad Hair Gaming will be running Dungeon Slug, our roguelike D&D campaign.
Yes, sir. Working on it right now.
Hell yeah. Saturdays is no longer happening for the Cyberpunk campaign. Unfortunately, something else is in the works. I don't know what's going on with that. Right now, nothing, unfortunately, is happening on Saturdays. So no stream at the moment on Saturdays. We'll see if that changes in the future with the second D&D stream for me of some kind. I don't know. But yeah, for anyone watching this now or in the future, thanks, as always. Stay healthy, stay safe, and have a good one, eh?